Money Talks. I'm Cathy Yang, your intel on the Philippine markets and the economy. In the headlines, news in at the top of this hour, a rare contraction of the Philippines Purchasing Managers Index for November. It comes in at 47.4, the lowest since August 2021. We have Jingyi Pan, Economics Associate Director of S&P Global Market Intelligence, live from Singapore. Thousands of Filipinos come together to call for accountability in different parts of the country. Their message: return the funds and jail the guilty. And a Filipino worker is confirmed to be among the 146 people killed in the fire in a housing complex in Taipo. Hong Kong is on the third and final day of its citywide mourning following the deadliest fire in decades, with flags flying at half-mast. Romulo Victor Jun Israel Jr., Consul General of the Philippines in Hong Kong, joins us live. Philippine manufacturing activity slumped in November, falling to its weakest level since August 2021. The S&P Global Philippines PMI contracted to 47.4 in November, down from 50.1 the previous month. S&P Global said output and new orders declined at their fastest pace in over 4 years, with exports, hiring, purchasing, and inventories also declining. Firms cited weak demand, product cycle changes, and typhoon disruptions. Purchasing activity also saw its steepest fall in over 5 years, while manufacturers shed staff for the first time since May. Still, business sentiment improved, with firms expecting higher output in the next 12 months on the back of new projects and anticipated demand. With us now for more is Jingyi Pan, Economics Associate Director of S&P Global Market Intelligence, live from Singapore. Good seeing you again, Jingyi. Welcome to the program.
Good morning, Katie, and thanks for having me.
All right, so it's a rare contraction below 50. That is a contraction in manufacturing. To what would you attribute the reading?
Well, Katie, as you mentioned, the number itself is definitely quite a subdued reading, the lowest in over 4 years since August 2021. And to a large extent, while the number does look weak, and both manufacturing production and new orders are also at the lowest in over 4 years, we do see this as a temporary reflection of the impact coming through, especially from the typhoons. As we delve into the comments coming through from manufacturers from whom we collect the survey responses, it does appear that the back-to-back typhoon that has hit in November has actually really been quite impactful for the Philippines. So in that extent, I think what we see is that reflection coming through from that disruption overall that's actually hit demand, kind of slowed the kind of operations within the Philippines. Because if we compare that with what's happening across the ASEAN as a whole, the manufacturing PMI consolidated by us actually showed a strengthening of manufacturing sector conditions, with Philippines being the anomaly here. So I would say that this is really a reflection of the weather impact rather than a broader weakening of demand conditions. And as you pointed out, Katie, that we do have the future output index at improving from October to a 1-year high.
Anomaly, but it is temporary. But when you take a look at the chart, it's pretty concerning because we've seen a bump up September, October, and then a deep dive. So to what extent might it take time before we recover, considering that we're already within COVID levels?
Certainly, Katie, what we do measure is a month-on-month reading with the PMI, so the changes from the last month. And I would say that the disruption certainly has come through from the typhoon, which is why I would largely pin the latest slowdown to what's happening with the weather rather than a broad broadening weakness of manufacturing conditions, as I pointed out, what we do not see across the region. So hopefully the situation is going to ease. A lot of what's happened this month is going to see a strong rebound in the coming month as the weather impact actually dissipate. So that's what we are pinning on. And in fact, the manufacturers do agree, because what they are looking at is economic conditions in potentially improving. Some of the new product, as you point out as well, that some of the cycle changes, those are the kind of things that could actually bring about a rebound into hopefully December from the PMI numbers that we will see.
Well, when you take a look at output, it's fallen to its lowest since August of 2021. Same goes for new orders. It's fallen to its lowest in more than 4 years. What about purchasing activity? Are we seeing any silver lining there?
Well, definitely that is something that we see as a knockoff impact of just the disruptions itself. Because of operations being disrupted, the demand, the new orders are not coming in, and at the same time, we're not seeing that production ongoing. So purchasing activity that has lowered, and I think the change of cycle as well, that seems to be prominent this month in November, and that has led to many manufacturers as well also not wanting to stock up so much inventory at this point of time. Of course, with the weather disruptions, I think the storage is also been some of the concern for them. So that again, I think what we see here potentially could be a temporary effect as the demand come in. We could be seeing some of the uptick in the purchasing activity. In fact, if we look, despite the fact that we have these disruptions, supply chain conditions hasn't so much worsened for the Philippines. So hopefully that's going to be a smooth rebound when the orders do come in.
What about in terms of supplier delivery times? Because last October, we noted among the worst delays in 3 months. Has that worsened further?
Well, there's an improvement there, like I said, despite the fact that there are weather disruptions. Now, this itself is largely attributed, unfortunately, to the fact of a lack of demand in the November month, based on what we are seeing, instead of weather effects typically being a part to play. So in this respect, yes, it's actually improved. Supply conditions improve, but again, as we are anticipating potential rebound and recovery in the coming months. This is something to definitely watch for, a sign of whether we are seeing supply chains pick up again.
What indications are we getting in terms of price, both input and selling prices? Does the status of input price inflation and how that is impacting the selling prices? Because October saw an easing in input price inflation, which led to selling prices falling at their fastest since April 2020.
Well, definitely. I think the price conditions are very subdued. Again, this month is falling back upon the fact that we have the weakness in terms of demand, and that's actually led to a slowing of the inflationary pressures for the Philippines. I would say that altogether, though, this is, in taking a big macro picture view, this is actually pretty positive from the fact that given that we are seeing some of this weakness coming through, what could be lending strength to growth in the Philippines is actually potential rate cuts coming through. We're seeing potentially one more by the end of this year and two more just in the first half of next year. So the fact that the price pressure are still quite subdued at this point is reinforcing our view, while the weakness from the manufacturing sector certainly is reinforcing our view that we could be seeing the bank BSP themselves actually lowering rates more, and that's expected to help see GDP growth actually pick up in 2026.
The cut that you're forecasting for next month, is that going to be 25 basis points or 50?
Well, we are seeing more gradual rate cut at this point still, so on the lower end, but of course two more in the next year itself. So I think definitely that's going to be 325 basis cut by the mid of next year. So hopefully that's what we are going to see as well, and that's bringing our forecast. Or definitely we had recently lowered our forecast for 2025 due to what we have seen so far, including the PMIs. That's bring down to our 4.8% for 2025. But for next year, we are predicting a stronger 5.4% growth. So hopefully that will actually materialize for the Philippines.
Employment, any silver linings heading into the Christmas season? Because October's job creation was already hovering at a 3-month high.
Definitely. So on the employment side, I think the conditions also a little bit subdued. Again, this month is all very demand driven. So without the a bit of a lack of new orders, there haven't so much spurred employment. But I think it's also important to point out that the typhoon effects potentially have hindered some of the hiring activities or job seeking activity that would have usually gone on at this time. So with that being said, hopefully that disruption dissipation is going to bring back that employment improvement again into the end of the year. Cathy.
Final point on business confidence. How are manufacturers seeing output prospects going into the new year? Because you did make a mention of that optimism heading into 2026.
Definitely. So let's end this on a good note. We did see the future output index, which is what we measure a manufacturer's expectation regarding production in the next 12 months. And that has actually risen to the highest in a year. So while you have something on the output side, the current output side, that's lowest reading since the pandemic, the future output is really well strong from a historical perspective. So this is suggesting to us that manufacturers themselves are looking at better growth conditions in, well, especially the coming few months itself. They are pinning their hopes on the fact that economic conditions will recover. They're pinning their hopes on the fact that new product launches will actually pick up. And I think, at the end of the day, it's also just recovering from some of the, natural disasters to some extent that we have seen. So hopefully that's going to materialize into the end of the year because manufacturers themselves are confident. I think they are ready to spend, they're ready to hire once, the impact go away.
All right, that's good to end that on a good note. Well, thank you so much, Jingyi, for taking us through the numbers in that deep dive. Jingyi Pan of S&P Global Market Intelligence live from Singapore. And on to U.S. markets have gained in Friday's shortened session, overcoming a 10-hour outage at a Chicago data center that disrupted futures trading. Investor optimism of a Fed rate cut pushed the Dow upward by 0.6%, and the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq by 0.5% each. Benchmark 10-year Treasury yields ticked up to 4.006%, and gold prices jumped to $4,218 per ounce. U.S. futures point to a decline when the markets open later tonight Manila time. The Nasdaq falling by nearly 0.7%, S&P tumbles by 0.5%, and the Dow slides by 1/3%. As for Asian markets, they're all in the red on Monday as investors await China's PMI. Japan's Nikkei 225 tumbles by nearly 2%. South Korea's Kospi slides by 0.4%, and Australia's ASX 200 falls by 0.25%. And let's take a look at our own markets following the PMI data, a rare contraction below 50. It is higher by 0.5% on the PSEI at 6,052, holding well above 6,000. The stock market returned to the 6,000 level Friday, rising by almost 1%, and on the back of the S&P Global's reaffirmed confidence in the country's investment-grade credit standing. First Metro Investment Corp says profit-taking will likely occur this week, but it is a buy on the dip ahead of the BSP meeting on December 11th. As for the Philippine peso, it opens today a tad stronger, 58.63 to the dollar. The peso closed Friday stronger at 58.645 against the greenback. Analysts expect the peso to move sideways this week ahead of the release of November's inflation report and data on manufacturing activity, which we just broke a couple of moments ago there of below 50. And the 10-year government bond yields have ticked up to 5.936%. And you're watching Money Talks. The death toll in Hong Kong's deadliest fire has climbed to 146. Among the fatalities, a Filipino. We speak to the Consul General of the Philippines in Hong Kong, Romulo Victor Jun Israel Jr. Keep it here on One News. Welcome back to Money Talks. I'm Cathy Yang. Protesters gathered at the People Power Monument along EDSA in Quezon City on Sunday for the second trillion peso March rally. No placards calling for the resignations of the country's top officials were seen as organizers emphasized their opposition to any form of military junta. Their message remained clear: hold accountable those who must be held accountable and return the stolen funds. Around 4,000 people gathered at the People Power Monument. Over in Manila, Bayan members smashed and beat a large effigy, a crocodile-tailed figure with the faces of the President and Vice President Sara Duterte. Beyond calls to hold corrupt government officials accountable, Bayan also wants Marcos and VP Sara to step down. Around 3,000 trooped to Luneta and went straight to Mendiola. The Philippine Consul General in Hong Kong reports that one Filipino has died in the fire that already claimed the lives of nearly 150. The Filipino worker was initially reported missing in the tragedy that occurred at the Taipo district. She is survived by her 10-year-old son and her family in Cainta, Rizal. As of yesterday, 84 Filipinos living at the Wangfuk Court housing complex were deemed safe. One has been injured, while 7 are left for verification. The death toll in Hong Kong's deadliest fire in decades now stands at 146. Hong Kong police has already examined 4 of the 7 towers, with the search likely concluding within 3 to 4 weeks. Officials have already suspended works for 28 building projects undertaken by Prestige Construction and Engineering Company, the contractor of Wangfuk Court's renovation. This is a live shot that you're looking at from Hong Kong, where thousands are paying tribute to the victims. But Beijing warned it will arrest anybody who will use the incident to mount an anti-China protest in accordance with Hong Kong's national security law. OFWs also stood in solidarity with Hong Kongers in this time of grief. The Filipino community gathered in prayer on Sunday to mourn the victims. Joining us this morning is Romulo Victor Jun Israel Jr., Consul General of the Philippines in Hong Kong. So good to see you, Con Gen. Welcome to the program and good morning po.
Good morning.
So Con Gen, what's the latest bilang ng verified, those marked safe, injured, perished, and missing Filipino domestic helpers in the Taipo fire?
Okay, as of this time, we already verified that we have 60 who are safe, 60 who are actually working at Wangfuk Court, and 29 are already verified to have either left Hong Kong for good, moved to another employer, or were terminated, or changed address. Because as we know, employers, when they move locations or residences, they always bring their domestic workers with them. So, and we now are down to 2 Filipino workers that we are trying to verify their whereabouts.
Doon po sa pamilya Esteban, yung pong nasawi na OFW natin, the Hong Kong government has pledged help of 200,000 Hong Kong dollars. Ano po ang ating financial assistance coming from the Philippine government?
Well, dun po sa mga survivors, we are coordinating, of course, with our Department of Migrant Workers and Overseas Workers Welfare Administration for yung immediate assistance po that they need. In fact, last Saturday, we were there in Taipo and we gathered around 15 survivors, those who are available, who were available at that time. Kasi po, after the incident, when they were able to secure themselves and their employers, they were able to also move out and transfer to another residence, usually relatives of their employers. And those who were able to join us, 15 of them, as I said, received more than 6,000 Hong Kong dollars from our government, from the BMW and OWA, and some care packs.
Yung po na-mention ninyo na meron na pong nagdesisyong umuwi, ano po ang ating financial assistance sa kanilang pagbabalik sa Pilipinas?
Actually, Hindi pa ho nag-decide yung, I mentioned yung 60 that nagtatrabaho po sa area. Ang na-mention pong mga umuwi na yung before the fire, mailan na pong nakauwi na. So that means na-roll out na po natin na sila ay kasama doon sa Wangfu Court nung nangyari yung sunog. Ano? But yung iwan ho, yung 60 na talagang nandoon sila sa location when the fire broke out, yun ho ay isa-isa natin siyempreng survey kung mga immediate needs po nila. Like yung mga iba ho, sinabi nila yung kanilang documents, passport nila, Hong Kong ID nila, some of course needed clothes, ano. Yung siyempre yung iba yung cash kasi nga mas practical naman po ang cash at this time.
Yung konsulado po ba i-waive yung mga passport fees para sa mga OFWs na nawala ng mga dokumento?
Good question. Of course, we understand yung situation ho nila. And we made a recommendation na po sa ating pong department, no, sa DFA. Hopefully po ay makakuha po tayo ng favorable consideration. And other means of shouldering yung cost ng kanilang passport, no? Kasi po mahal din po ang lost passport, no, replacement, much more expensive than the regular renewal, no? Kaya mabigat din po 'yun sa kanila.
Yes, Conjen. At para po roon sa mga nawalan o mawawalan ng trabaho, sanhin ng pagkamatay ng kanilang mga amo o sa mga nilet go or ililet go ng surviving employers, ano pong offer nating assistance para sa helpers?
Good question. No? Kasi we are meeting with Hong Kong Labor, no, on the possibility na mailan nga po sa kanila na hindi lang sila physically displaced, no, from their place of work, but yung maaring mawalan sila ng work talaga. So, kasi nga yung the employer situation baka hindi na sila afford. No? In this case, kasi in ordinary circumstances, meron silang 14 days allowed mo sila to find another employer. So, but we are working closely with the Hong Kong Labor kung ano po ang pwede pang magawa for them. Transfer to a new employer if they still want to stay in Hong Kong, or to extend po siguro yung grace period na yon until makahanap po sila ng ibang trabaho.
Yung extension po ng grace period sa tingin niyo po ay mabibigay ng Hong Kong Labor Department?
Actually, it's another government agency po that decides yung sa immigration na po yun. But of course, with the endorsement of Hong Kong Labor, hopefully, mabigay po sa ating kababayan. But at this time, we are not exactly sure yet ilan sa kanila ho yung nasa ganong situation. Kasi when we went there, lahat ho nang nakausap naman namin, they said they're still with their employers. Yung 60 po na safe. Even yung isa po nating injured, no, nakakababayan na sa hospital, she was saying okay pa siya, she wants to go back to work pag naka-recover na po siya fully. So, of course, depending nga po doon sa magiging sitwasyon din ng kanyang employer.
At para po sa mga nais pang tumulong, ano pa po ang need pang assistance ng ating helpers affected sa fire?
Well, we're happy rin to note na among the Hong Kong community, Filipino community, dami ho nag-offer ng support, organizations, NGOs, even private individuals. At even the government, the Hong Kong government po ay nag-promise ng support. Sa lahat naman na ating mga kababayan na may mabuting puso at kalooban, gusto pa rin tumulong, makipag-ugnayan lang po sa amin. Meron po tayong hotlines, no, na we posted earlier, no, kung if they still want to contribute po doon sa support. And of course, yung prayers pa rin nila are very important po.
Marami pong salamat sa update. Conjen June, Romulo Victor June Israel Jr. live from Hong Kong, Consul General of the Philippines. In other news, headline inflation likely ease in November here in the Philippines as lower food prices, particularly rice, help temper higher utility costs. A Business World poll of 15 analysts yielded a median estimate of 1.6% for November inflation. That's well within the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas' 1.1 to 1.9% estimate for the month. If realized, it would be slower than the 1.7% clip in October and 2.5% logged a year ago. It could also be the slowest print in 3 months, or since the 1.5% seen in August, and could mark the 9th straight month that inflation fell below the central bank's 2 to 4% target. A 1.6% print would also bring the 11-month average at 1.7%, matching the central bank's full-year forecast. The PSA is set to release the official November inflation data on December 5th. And before we go, a world-renowned Lego exhibit is coming to Manila just in time for the holidays. Brickman Wonders of the World opens this December at the Space at Soler. It will feature over 45 large-scale Lego replicas of iconic landmarks, including the Taj Mahal and the Arc de Triomphe. It will also feature a Lego certified store for mini creations and exclusive sets. The exhibit is led by Ryan the Brickman McNaught, one of only 24 Lego certified professionals worldwide. The exhibit runs from December 12th to February 8th, 2026. And that is it for Money Talks. I'm Cathy Yang. Catch us again tomorrow, 9:30 a.m. Kapatid, we are one news, all sides, all the time. Have a great day ahead.